I hope you had a great weekend. Hope you're able to watch Life, Liberty, and Levin. Those were two great shows, I think you'll agree. So I've been watching, obviously through the Fox coverage, this thing in Manhattan, this Soviet show trial. Here's my take. Bragg is relying on a porn actress. I don't know what makes her a porn star. Do you, Mr. Producer? And serial convicted liar Cohen to prove an undefined federal campaign violation that was never pursued by the feds, where Bragg has no jurisdiction, which supposedly resuscitates an expired state booking misdemeanor statute and turns it into a felony. You able to follow all that? It's sort of 4 degrees away from justice. It's absolute insanity. This is a vile Biden Democrat Party frontal assault on our Constitution, our justice system, and our electoral process, all intended to convict and imprison President Trump for nothing and forcibly install Biden in the White House for another America-killing 4 years. What you see in that courtroom is tyranny. And the courts have gone along with it. It's tyranny. Pure and simple. But there's more. Bragg is trying to prove today and every day that Donald Trump committed the perfectly legal act of executing a non-disclosure agreement. How much you want to bet his own office has executed non-disclosure agreements? And I'm asking the media to come forward and to reveal if they've ever entered into non-disclosure agreements. All of them. Cable, network, newspapers. They have. But they cannot even prove he did that. That is, that he was actually intimately knowledgeable about the non-disclosure agreement or did it with full knowledge, let alone with the intent of committing a non-existent federal campaign violation. And Cohen's testimony, scripted as it is by Bragg, not only reveals what a lying sleazeball he is, but underscores that Cohen was the driving force behind it. He was the manipulator. And by the way, Cohen has lied to a federal court, lied to Congress, lied to the IRS, and lied to his former client, Donald Trump. He lies more than Joe Biden. That's saying something. Now here. So why would a prosecution use him as the lead witness? Because they figure they have the judge in their back pocket, and they're hoping they have the jury in their back pocket. Let me pose this to you. If every single thing Cohen said today is true, it's all false. Why didn't the Southern District of New York bring a federal campaign violation of some kind based on his allegations? If everything Cohen says is true, Trump's knowledge, this, that, and the other, why didn't they do it? Because there is no federal offense. Because the non-disclosure agreement is not criminal. Because everything Cohen says, if true, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's why this is so crazy-ass. Let me put it as succinctly as I know. There's no crime, state or federal, with which to link Donald Trump or anyone else. This is a case looking for a legal basis. There is none. There is none. Then they talk about fraudulent intent. Obviously, you need a fraudulent intent or specific intent or some kind of intent, depending on the statute. There are strict liability statutes, but not in criminal cases for the most part. You need a fraudulent intent to be convicted of an offense, federal or state. But a fraudulent intent to commit what crime? How can you have a fraudulent intent when you didn't commit a crime? How can you have a fraudulent intent when we don't even know what crime they're talking about? If Bragg cannot articulate the crime or won't, and he hasn't to date, how can Trump have had a criminal intent to commit it, whatever it is? This is Alice in Wonderland and 1984 combined. That's how crazy this damn thing is. Now, if Cohen told Trump he was going to front the non-disclosure agreement money, as he claims, Is the suggestion that this proves that Trump sought to avoid a federal campaign violation? What does that have to do with anything? Regardless, there's no conceived federal campaign violation. None of this works unless they can articulate with specificity what the federal offense is, that Trump violated it, and he knew he was violating it. That is, he violated it with intent. This is going on a month, this trial right now. They won't articulate what exactly the federal offense is. What are the elements of the federal offense? What was Trump's mens rea, his mindset? And where is the evidence? Nothing. Zero. I don't know what else to say. Now, I was the first to explain, and I'll explain it yet again. Bragg and the judge don't care. They want to get a conviction. This whole thing is about getting a conviction. That's why I call it a Soviet show trial, which will be overturned, but it won't matter. So they're not doing this in the pursuit of justice. They're doing it in the pursuit of injustice. So in every respect, this is a fiction. I don't know of another human being in America who's faced a trial like this. I really don't. It's just like the case before on the civil case. He never used fraud statute in this way, used to try and destroy Donald Trump's businesses and to force him to pay $500 million. Even though there was no fraud, even though there's not a single witness who's testified to fraud, even though there's not a single document that suggests fraud. Nothing. Absolutely zero. That follows, that was the first one. Now this follows that case. And the common thread here is the former number 3 Department of Justice official who worked for Biden, who worked for the DNC, who worked in the Obama administration. He's sent to Albany to work with Letitia James. He moves from there to work with Alvin Bragg. It's just so obvious. And I think those of us here, we all know that. You all know this. But I think it's starting to penetrate with other elements of society here. Now, forget about the fanatics and the zealots. That is, forget about every person employed by MSLSD and the Constipated News Network. Every phony journalist that works for the Holocaust-denying New York Times and the pathetic Washington Compost. Forget about them. They're the zealots, and they're irrelevant. I'm talking about normal, regular Americans and voters. Very bizarre, don't you think? Then we have the fact that Michael Cohen secretly taped his client, Donald Trump. Well, now, why would you secretly tape your client, Mr. Producer? How many out there have lawyers who secretly tape you? If you're in a divorce case, a contract case, some kind of accident case, a dispute. Do you think it's okay for your lawyer to tape you? Is that okay by you? Now, on top of this, you have to assume that the Southern District of New York, which spent a lot of time with their boy Michael Cohen, and he pled guilty to multiple felonies, that what he's spewing in the courtroom today, and it's obviously rehearsed, almost syllable by syllable, that the feds knew this, and yet they did nothing. So you have, one more time, just to make it really clear so it's not confusing in the least, even though what they've created is a confusing concoction of lies and fictions. You have a state statute that applies to corporations in terms of bookkeeping. If you're found guilty, it's a minor misdemeanor. The non-disclosure agreement was treated as a legal expense because it was a legal expense. It wasn't hidden. It was transparent. Nobody gave a damn. Complaints were filed with the FEC. They voted no. Southern District of New York took all the testimony from Cohen. They said no. Alvin Bragg's predecessor said no. Alvin Bragg early on said no. That's 3 bites of the apple. 1, 2, 3. That's 4 bites of the apple. On the 5th bite, they decided to go for it in the course of this election because Biden wanted them to do it. That's why the number 3 guy was sent from Washington to New York. It's that simple. Where's your proof? Hey. Where's their proof for Russian collusion? I don't need it. It's called rational thinking. It's called reasoning. It's called logic. We're not Helen Keller here. We see and we hear. And then we speak. Now, that's the underlying statute. But what's the problem with that statute, America? The statute of limitations ran years ago. So it's dead. But Alvin and his chipmunks, they have an idea. Let's resuscitate it. How do you resuscitate it? We need to demonstrate, or at least accuse, make the allegation, that the purpose of violating that state statute, that misdemeanor, and he didn't violate it. No, it doesn't matter. We'll accuse him of it. But wait a minute, it's dead. Yeah, but the way we resuscitate it is to point out that Trump committed that offense for the purpose of affecting the federal election. What are you talking about? It's an illegal campaign contribution. Wait a minute, he's paid money for a non-disclosure agreement. That's right. Because he didn't want anybody to know about it. Therefore, it's an illegal campaign contribution that was never properly reported. What? That won't fly anywhere. Doesn't have to. We'll make the allegation. Then we'll swing back to the state statute and we'll say, see, we've resuscitated the statute and now the misdemeanor turns into a felony. What are you talking about? Not only wasn't Trump charged with a federal offense on the campaign, he was cleared. Doesn't matter. We've got the media. We've got our orders from Biden's number 3 guy, Justice. We got Alvin Bragg, who'll do anything we tell him to do. He's a Soros guy. And then we have the judge. But, Mark, judges are picked by a lottery. No, this judge was actually handpicked. Did you know that, Mr. Producer? The leading judge appointed this guy to be the judge. And in every respect, he is ruled against. Every respect. He is ruled against Donald Trump. And then gagged him. That's the bottom line. And so they're relying on 2 boobs. Really 3, I guess, if you count properly. That would be a porn actress and Michael Cohen. And what they're proving in court are not crimes at all. They're proving in court conduct that's not illegal. But they're trying to make it look tawdry. They're trying to make it look illegal, even though it isn't illegal. And, of course, due process. You have every right to know exactly what you're being charged with. Not in this case. You have every right to know the witnesses before you call them 12 or 24 hours earlier so your lawyers can prepare. Not in this case. You have every right to speak your mind to the American people as a citizen to defend yourself because the government's trying to put you in prison the rest of your life, especially if you're running for president of the United States and the people want to know what you think. Not in this case. First Amendment denied. And I could go on and on and on. But I won't.